Hello again, YouTube. It's Skylar. Welcome back to my face. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing something called hypermasculinity. Now, a lot of trans women prior to transitioning will go through a stage of denial known as hypermasculization. And what this means is, while still struggling to try to repress the identity of the person that you really are, you try to go full direction in the opposite way. So for me, this was a very short period of time in my life, probably only a year and a half, where my denial that I was transgender had kind of hit its peak, and I decided to become as masculine and manly as possible. And also during this time was when my depression got at its worst, because I was trying to solve a problem by making it worse. So I'm going to go into a little detail on that. Now, everyone's experience through transition is different. Mine, however, is probably more typical than not. I would say there was a point at which I would exercise more. I started becoming more manly. I was lifting weights. I was drinking protein shakes and doing all this manly stuff. I would hang out with the guys and go out, try to pick up women and lots of manly bro stuff. Just lots of masculinity. And at the time, I thought that the reason why I had felt the way that I did was because I wasn't being manly enough. And so trying to become more masculine made me even less happy. And it made me realize that the only way to correct that was to go in the correct direction, which was more feminine. And for a while, I had come to the understanding of, well, maybe I'm gay. And, as sort of as an excuse to let out my feminine tendencies, but still be like, oh, I'm definitely not a woman. I'm definitely not a woman. It's actually kind of silly sometimes when I look back at how I presented my masculinity in a way that was so disingenuous that it's almost laudable. It would basically be the effect of, imagine meeting someone and shaking their hand and then introducing themselves and being like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. By the way, I am definitely not a woman. I am a man, and I am very masculine. Obviously non-verbally, or however you could probably word that, and how awkward that probably is. But yeah, that's kind of how I was presenting at the time, because I was a woman pretending to be a man. And so I had to overcompensate in the masculinity of that, in like always being, tough and serious and stoic and show no emotion and, very, very untrue to my real nature. And I think in a lot of ways that it probably is a lot more similar to people that are closeted and gay, in what you'll find that gay men who are closeted will tend to do the same thing as hyper masculinize, as sort of like, look at me, I'm so masculine, I'm definitely not gay, but I'm so masculine. And it's kind of silly, because you can totally tell you're overcompensating, you're just gay and you can't admit it. And that's kind of what I was going through myself with being transgender, is that I was a woman and I couldn't accept that fact, so I tried harder and harder to be more and more of a man, thinking that was going to solve the problem. when all it did was just make it much worse and much more obvious to me. Denial is really hard. Um, you know, for the longest time, I kept doing everything that I could. I did this, I did that. I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm still single, or maybe it's because I haven't had that big promotion yet, or, I don't have enough money. And all the while, all those years, all it was, nope, it's definitely not that I'm trans. It's definitely not that I'm trans. I'm not trans. It's not that. There's no way it could be that. It just can't be that. It's so unlikely that it's that. And that's what it was. But I kept rationalizing that that's what it wasn't by making excuses. And all I was doing was just delaying what I always knew, trying to find some out. Like, it's definitely not that I'm trans. I'm definitely not transgender. And then every time that would just come back, and I'd just be like, oh my God, this isn't happening. This isn't real. But it was real. I am trans. I was born a woman in a man's body. And no amount of denial can change that. You can't deny yourself out of your own self, your own identity. You can't deny reality. But without rambling on too much about that, let's just say getting over denial is the hardest part, but once you do it, it's like, oh, come on, it was so obvious this whole time. And for a lot of other people, it wasn't, because I had such a masculine presentation that it came as kind of a shock. But at the same time, you have to think, well, yeah, that makes sense now, because before that, oh, that makes sense now, and oh, like, once you start adding up all the little things, it starts to piece itself together of, here I am, and, I'm tired of hiding, and I'm just going to be myself now. So I hope that was a helpful antidote for anyone out there, especially any transgender male to females that may experience the same thing. Hopefully you could relate to that in the same way that I can. And with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my videos for more amazing content. And I will see you all tomorrow in the next video. Bye.